Welcome to Keeping Up with Our Community, a podcast for and about Romeo Community Schools. Each week, we will invite different guests to share insights about some unique aspects of our schools. This podcast is powered by the MIT TV of Romeo, Michigan. If you're looking to start a podcast for your business or personal use, look no further than MIT TV. They can get you access to equipment, a production engineer, and you can even edit your podcast. That's all right here at the MIT TV of Romeo, Michigan, and you can contact them right now via email at mit.tvromeo@gmail.com. That's mitt.tvromeo@gmail.com. Hello, my name is Marianne Brush, and I currently serve as the Communications and Marketing Supervisor for Romeo Community Schools. It's my pleasure to host this podcast today. This is the first of two podcasts that are providing important information to our voters about the Millage renewals the Romeo Community Schools Board of Education has placed on the February 27, 2024 Presidential Primary Ballot. This conversation is going to be specific to the sinking fund renewal proposal. Next, I would like to introduce our panel of speakers for today. Superintendent Dr. Todd Robinson, Executive Director of Business Services, Mrs. Vicki Lasky, and Director of Operations, Mr. Chris Storm. Dr. Robinson, the opportunity for the district to put this important millage renewal in front of the voters was the result of some unique circumstances. What can you share about that?
So in 2019, the district committed to bringing the sinking fund renewal to voters every 5 years, so that there would be some consistency as to when we came to the voters for this support. We originally were targeting August or November of 2024, and then the legislature passed some new legislation back in June to pull the presidential primary forward for the state of Michigan. And there was a little bit of ambiguity initially as to whether that would be in February or March, and ultimately that was connected to when the legislature adjourned this fall session, and they recently have done that. So we now know that it's the election, the presidential primary is February 27th, and we decided to pull forward and leverage that opportunity to bring the proposals at that time.
Sinking fund ballot proposal is the renewal of an existing millage. Vicki, what can you tell us about that?
So in November 2019, the voters approved a renewal of 1.25 mills for 5 years. July of 2024 will be our last levy for the current sinking fund millage levy. We intentionally paired the renewal of the sinking fund and the non-homestead renewal, which is also on the February 27th ballot, for consistency and ease for our voters.
Is this a millage that all school districts have?
Actually, no. This is not a millage or funding source that all districts pursue, as it's not mandated by the state school code. That being said, the school code clearly defines what the revenue from a sinking fund millage can be spent on. Currently, about 2/3 of the districts in the state of Michigan have a sinking fund millage. That number is less than that and specific to Macomb County. I think it's important to understand that with this funding source, there's no long-term repayment like you see with our facilities or construction bonds. We believe it is a financially prudent means of supporting our most critical facility needs, and of course also some of the other allowable expenses in security, technology, and most recently transportation with some of the changes to the law.
Have there been changes in the allowable usages of this millage proposal?
Effective March of 2017, student use technology was added as an allowable use of funds. This will allow us to continue to refresh our student one-to-one devices regularly. And most recently, in May of 2023, school buses were added to the list of allowable uses for sinking fund dollars.
With a successful renewal of this millage, how much revenue does that generate for the district?
The sinking fund generates nearly $3.5 million annually.
Well, it appears there are some very specific areas where these funds can be spent. How does the district decide where the funds go?
Well, as we've mentioned, by law, sinking fund revenue can be used for construction or repair of school buildings, school security improvements, the purchase and support of transportation vehicles, and the acquisition or upgrading of technology. So in 2019, we established a formula of how we would allocate the dollars from each annual levy. That includes about 65% going towards facility needs, and those decisions are specifically generated from our facilities assessment. 20% towards instructional technology, 8% for emergency repairs. And with this new renewal, we would be projecting about 7% to be set aside for transportation support. We apply this formula to each annual levy and then allocate projects and expenditures over time. So an example would be when we talk about replacing student devices, we do that about every 4 years. It takes more than one annual 20% technology, from the revenue. So we bundle a couple of years together, and then when the time is right to make that expenditure, we would do that. These examples could also exist in certain facility projects that take a larger amount of money than maybe what the annual levy would support, but we can combine portions of each annual levy and then do a project when we have the appropriate funding.
So we hear an emphasis on facility repair and improvements. Chris, where is the emphasis placed with sinking fund dollars?
So the emphasis with sinking fund dollars would be roofing. With the help of our roofing consultant, we monitor when our roof sections are reaching the end of their warranty period and prioritize replacements from that information. Parking lots, district administration, along with our district architect and our construction management team, have had intentional conversations to prioritize the parking lots that are in need of replacement. Boilers, many of the district facilities have had boiler replacements, which are vital to the operation of our schools and also operate at a much higher efficiency than previous systems. HVAC improvements, many of the units have been replaced and others are in need of updating to help us maintain suitable climate and improve the indoor air quality of our students. Although many of these projects are not easily seen and may not be the most exciting things, they are essential to the functionality of the operation of our facilities. And in many cases, they can significantly reduce utility costs as well.
Does the revenue cover the needs?
No, the revenue does not cover all of the needs that have been assessed in the facilities assessment. 2019 and 2021 and the most up-to-date version of the facilities assessment is what we use to determine where the sinking fund dollars will be used. The sinking fund alone does not generate enough funding to complete all of the projects that have been identified in the facilities assessment, but it does provide a means to complete many of the necessary projects.
Can you provide some recent examples of facility repair and improvement projects that have been completed?
Complete renovation to the pool and locker rooms were completed in 2021 at RMS. District-wide building management system. This is a system that is used to control temperatures and schedules, much like a residential thermostat. It also provides great feedback that we can use for troubleshooting boilers and HVAC equipment, as well as adjust schedules for optimum efficiency. HVAC unit replacements, rooftops, and air handler unit replacements at Romeo High School, Romeo Middle School, and Washington Elementary were completed last summer. And GPS needlepoint bipolar ionization was installed district-wide to improve the indoor air quality in 2021. Roofing replacements were completed at the administration building, Romeo Middle, and Powell 9th Grade Academy this past summer. Boilers at Romeo High School and Romeo Middle School were replaced last year. Door and hardware replacements have been completed to help the district accomplish a standard for building and classroom security at all secondary buildings. District infrastructure projects have been addressed in recent years that include water and sewer lines at RMS and water treatment at various buildings. And emergency repairs. A portion of the sinking fund is allocated for emergency repairs that arise without notice. Some notable recent emergencies that the sinking fund allowed us to quickly replace would be the pool boiler, which failed at the start of the girls' swim season, the boiler at the administration building, which failed during the winter season, and the grinder pump and motor for the Romeo Middle School lift station. With this funding source, the district can act quickly to address any major issues that can arise unexpectedly and reduce the inconvenience that failures can cause.
With a successful renewal, what are some key projects that the district will be planning to complete?
So based on the current updates to our facilities assessment, we would be targeting some parking lot replacements at Hamilton, Parsons, and Hevel. Some of our parking lot replacement priorities may be a little bit higher than others, but we also have to align these with the construction efforts. So we'll have some significant parking lot replacement on the north or backside of Romeo Middle School. We want to wait until that work is completed before we would come in and leverage the sinking fund potentially to complete the rest of the middle school parking lot. We also have some targeted roofing projects at Amanda Moore. And then the older section of the high school, we remember the initial RETSI facility, which is now the DEM Academy. That portion of the building is due to receive some roofing replacement. And then when we think about the technology dollars that we dedicate from the sinking fund, it will provide us to do another one-to-one student device replacement in the summer of 2025. And most recently, we're excited to also support the funding of new interactive classroom display panels. So when we think about the front of the classroom and the presentation station, as we call it, we've been using some projector systems, short throw projector systems, for the past several years that require bulb replacement and regular upkeep. And so the new trend in education and really in other industries is to go to interactive display panels. And so we're hopeful to leverage some of the technology dollars to support that over the next few years with a renewal.
So we have heard about what this revenue can be used for. Vicki, can you clarify what this millage can't be used for?
The sinking fund cannot be used for operating expenses, such as salaries and benefits, and for preventive maintenance, equipment, or supplies.
Okay. Well, I appreciate our conversation today and the important information y'all have shared. And are there any final thoughts that you want the voters to know about our sinking fund renewal?
Yeah, our facilities assessment work has been very intentional as we continue to assess the needs of the district facilities. And funding is from this source is very critical for emergency repairs as well as upkeep of our facilities. Be informed. You can check out more information on the school's website and look at frequently asked questions and for more information to come on priority projects.
I'd like to add that our current sinking fund millage is 1.2127, and that was originally approved in 2019 as 1.25 mils. The sinking fund millage is subject to a Headley rollback, so as taxable values increase over time, our millage can potentially be reduced. I'd like to also encourage everyone to vote on February 27th, and as a reminder, anyone who is 18 years of age or older on election day and that is registered to vote can vote in the election. If you're not already registered, you may do so at your local clerk's office, or you can go to the Michigan Voter Information website, www.michigan.gov/vote. You can also contact your clerk's office or that state site to get your absentee ballot. Anyone can vote absentee, and they will be available in the mail about 6 weeks prior to the election. And for further information about the sinking fund, you can always visit our website, romeok12.org, or call Dr. Robinson's office.
So it's interesting, as we were preparing for this, Vicki and I looked back and we believe this millage was originally approved in the district in either 1999 or 2000. So it's been in place for more than a couple decades now. Voter support of this millage is part of a bigger plan that Romeo Community Schools has had in place really for six or more years now, just in terms of overall funding and support of district operations. We've been able to create a system of blending funding sources to update and repair our facilities, and I think the fruits of our labor are out there at just about any of our facilities. We've been good stewards of the taxpayers' support, and we are grateful for their support, and we will never take that for granted. We remain the third lowest debt retirement rate in Macomb County of all 21 school districts. Even when the sinking fund millage, when those mills are added to our current debt retirement, we're the third lowest in Macomb County. I think that supports the fact that we're good stewards of the taxpayer dollars. And now, as I said, the fruits of our labor are there. We look at a beautiful brand new high school, renovations and additions to most of our facilities, and the upkeep of our facilities. So we think that that gives us additional credibility as we come back to the voters this time. But we're also doing that on a very, very low debt retirement and millage rates, asking of that of our voters. So sinking fund projects are not always the most glamorous, as Chris shared, but they are often the most critical. The upgrades we are making to our school buildings, as I said, we think they should just support the trust that our community members and our voters have. Without this dedicated funding, we would have to make difficult decisions on allocating general fund dollars towards facility needs, and ultimately that's going to impact programming. The state of Michigan doesn't provide dedicated school facilities funds. Some other states do. Michigan does not. So we have to rely on other allowable means. And ultimately, we believe our students and staff deserve this.
Well, we've heard about our website and additional resources that can be accessed through the election logo link on the homepage. Dr. Robinson, I know our message around these renewals is unique. Can you conclude our time with a summary of that?
Sure. So in 2021, we developed some messaging and branding around our facility improvement efforts with the 2021 bond. The brand, of course, has the Romeo R because that's just integral and easily identifiable. But then also next to it, you see students, families, and community, because this really is a combined effort. Combined, without that combined effort, we certainly can't do this alone. So we also see that word together now in this most recent update because we want to do this together. And we can't do it alone. So we're relying on the broader communities, our voters' support of this renewal. Finally, new this year, we also have a tagline, keeping promises, moving forward. And we think this is representative that we've delivered on what we've told the voters we would do every step of the way. Things are getting a little bit tighter now in some of our construction efforts just because of escalated costs and materials and labor, but we still have stuck to the plan. And so we think that means something. These millage renewals are really phase 4 of a multi-step plan we have to provide reliable, up-to-date, and effective facilities for our school community. So keeping promises, moving forward, we need the community's help, and together we can continue on this path.
Well, I want to thank our district leaders and all of you that will take time to listen to this podcast. Please be sure to listen to our complimentary podcast on the non-homestead millage renewal that will also be on the February 27th presidential primary ballot. Thank you, and go Bulldogs. Thank you for joining us, and tune in next week to keep up with Romeo Community Schools. This podcast is powered by the MIT TV of Romeo, Michigan. If you're looking to start a podcast for your business or personal use, look no further than MIT TV. They can get you access to equipment, a production engineer, and you can even edit your podcasts. That's all right here at the MIT TV of Romeo, Michigan, and you can contact them right now via email at mit.tvromeo@gmail.com. That's mitt.tvromeo@gmail.com.